The hunters stood in perfect stillness, lined like stone along the edge of the sacred field. No one spoke, not a whisper, not a breath out of place. Before them, the bodies of the fallen lay atop wooden pyres, wrapped in honor, prepared with care. Then Cabo stepped forward, and for a long moment he said nothing. His voice, when it came, was strong, but threaded with pain. "These are not just our fallen," he said, his voice rising over the stillness. "They are our brothers. They are our fire. They are the beat in our drums, the strength in our arms, the memory in our bones." The wind stirred slightly, as if the goddess herself had leaned in to listen. "They walked beside us. They fought with us. They believed in what we were building. They believed in me." He paused, and in the silence, even the trees seemed to bow their heads. I asked the goddess how to honor them, how to give them the farewell they deserve. She answered me. She gave me these words, her words, not for the living, but for the ones we now return to her. He began to speak, his voice growing deeper, stronger, fuller, as if it carried not only his voice, but the voices of all the hunters who had ever lived. "Brothers and sisters, we stand before your bodies, but not before your spirits. Your spirits have already run ahead into the great hunt beyond. Your feet, which once marched beside us, now tread the paths of the ancestors. Your hands, which once held the blade with honor, now rest in the breath of the wind. Your voices, which once rose in battle and song, now echo through the halls of those who came before. Tonight, we mourn, but we do not grieve, for hunters do not fall in vain. Hunters do not fear the final journey. You have left this world as warriors, strong, proud, and unbroken, and we will honor you as such. The fire will take you, but the fire does not consume you, it carries you home. We do not forget, we do not falter, we do not leave our own behind. And though your hunt ends here, we will carry your names into battle, into blood, into the songs and stories that will echo long after our bones have turned to dust. You are ours, you are always ours, and we will see you again at the end of the great hunt. You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. A low hum began to rise among the hunters, deep and mournful. A warrior's song, old, sacred, from the time before memory. Cabo turned and took the torch. He stepped to each pyre one by one and lit the wood. The fire crackled softly at first, then roared to life, stretching high into the sky. It was a blaze of farewell, not of destruction. Flames kissed the night, and Cabo lifted his eyes. And then he saw it. Not with his eyes, but with something deeper, something that lived in the soul of every true hunter. Shapes, light, rising from the pyres like glowing mist. He could feel them, his brothers and sisters, lifting, floating, returning to where they had come from. The source, the beginning. No pain, no fear, no judgment, only peace. Cabo's throat tightened. His hands trembled at his sides. But then, softly, a hand found his. Warm, grounding. Naomi. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her fingers threaded through his, steady, present, real. In that moment there were no games, no power plays, no cold silences, just a woman standing beside a man who needed her. She was his anchor, a light in the smoke. Together they stood in silence, watching the flames dance and the sparks rise like stars being born. The hunters around them began to hum again, their voices joining, deep and low, vibrating through the air like a heartbeat. A goodbye, a promise. Tomorrow there would be plans and strategy, but not tonight. Tonight, they remembered. Tonight, they let go. And Cabo finally understood. His brothers were not gone. They had gone home. Malaika had avoided Zarya like a plague. She couldn't face her, not now, not yet. This had been Malaika's first hunt. Her sister had been worried sick, praying every night to the hunter goddess to bring her home safely. And now that Malaika had returned, she hadn't gone to find her. She had gone straight to her quarters, closed the door, and stayed there. Zarya noticed immediately. She always noticed. She walked straight to her sister's door and knocked, softly at first, then harder. "Malaika, open up. I know you're in there." Inside, Malaika froze. This was a game she would lose, always. Zarya was persistent, relentless. The door creaked open. Zarya was already smiling. "Are you hiding from me?" she said gently, before pulling her sister into a warm, fierce embrace. "It's good to see you." Malaika melted into her arms. She hadn't realized how much she had missed her, but she couldn't hold the hug too long. Zarya would feel it. Malaika pulled back. Zarya studied her face. "Are you okay, Laika?" "I'm just tired," Malaika replied quickly. "The walk was long. We lost a brother." Zarya's smile faded. "Yes, so I heard." Her voice softened. "It's never easy losing a brother during a hunt. I'm sorry." Malaika nodded, eyes dropping to the floor. She couldn't look at her. Zarya tilted her head. "Is there something else you're not telling me?" "No," Malaika said. Zarya touched her face gently. "You're glowing, sister. The forest agrees with you. You should go out there more often. If I didn't know you better," she laughed lightly, "I'd say you're pregnant." Malaika's heart jumped. But Zarya had already turned toward the door, humming as she walked away, completely unaware of the hurricane she had left behind. Malaika closed the door gently, then leaned against it. Her hand drifted to her stomach. Her pulse was racing. She had to see the healer now and make sure. There was an urgent knock at the door. Tendai's heart clenched. He didn't move at first. He was sitting on a chair, staring at the floor like it held answers. He figured it was his grandfather again, or maybe even his father. Another knock, lighter this time. He stood slowly, dragging himself to the door, already rehearsing the words in his head. "I'm fine, just tired," or "I need time." But when he opened it, the words collapsed in his throat. It wasn't Zoro. It wasn't Sia. It was Malaika. His face dropped. He couldn't help it. She stood there, hands folded tightly, but her eyes soft, so soft they broke something in him. She was the last person he wanted to see, not because she didn't matter, but because she mattered too much. He turned inside the room, saying nothing. His feet carried him to the window, where the light spilled in gently across the floor. He stood there, back turned, staring at nothing. His breath was shallow and his chest ached. She closed the door behind her. The sound of it clicking shut made him flinch. She stepped forward slowly, cautiously, her eyes locked on his back. She could feel the space between them, thick, heavy, stretched too far. "Tendai," she said softly. He didn't answer. His hands were clenched at his sides. "I went to the healer." That got his attention. "Why? Are you sick?" Her lips parted. She tried to find the words, simple, gentle, but nothing about this moment could be made soft. "I didn't know what was wrong at first. I just felt off, sick, tired. The smells, everything was making me dizzy. I thought maybe it was the travel, the long patrol, but..." Her voice cracked. "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air like thunder. Tendai shut his eyes tight. His fingers twitched. She waited. For a reaction, for a breath, for something. But he gave her nothing. He couldn't. He couldn't even turn to look at her. "Tendai," she tried again. "Did you hear me?" He nodded, once, barely. She stepped closer. "Say something." His voice was hoarse when it came. "How?" She blinked. "What do you mean, how?" "We only... once." He swallowed hard. "Once, Malaika." "Yes," she whispered. "And once is enough." He shook his head, still facing the window, his reflection barely visible in the glass. His jaw clenched. He didn't know what to do with the storm inside him, not with this, not now. His mother was a snake. His father had killed a hunter. And now? This? Another life? He was still struggling with the fact that he was part snake, and now he had passed on the curse to someone else. If he had a choice, he wouldn't have. But the choice had been taken away from him by them. She was watching him, watching the back of him. His silence screamed at her. "You've been distant," she said quietly. "Since we got back. Since before that even. I felt it. I didn't know why. I thought maybe I had done something. Maybe you regretted that night." He turned slightly, just enough to catch her reflection in the window. "I don't regret it," he said quietly. "But I'm not who you think I am, Laika." She frowned. "What does that mean?" He turned away again. He couldn't tell her. He couldn't bring her into the truth that was devouring him from the inside out. She took another step. "Tendai, I'm scared. I need you." He closed his eyes again. The room was too small, the air too tight. "I need to go," he said suddenly, moving toward the corner where his bow and quiver rested. She froze. "What?" "I need to clear my head." "We just came back, Tendai." "Yes, but I need to be somewhere else." Malaika stood still in the center of his room, her hands trembling slightly as she watched him move toward the door. Her voice broke through the silence, sharp with pain. "Tendai." He paused, his fingers brushing the doorframe. "Look at me." He didn't turn. "Please," she said, her voice cracking, her chest rising and falling as the tears welled in her eyes. "Do you still love me? Or was this a mistake too?" That made his shoulders flinch. He turned slightly, only slightly. His face stayed hidden, but his jaw clenched so tight the muscle twitched. She stepped toward him. Her voice was shaking now. "Why are you doing this? Why are you pushing me away?" Still nothing. "I'm carrying your child and you can't even look me in the eyes. Why? What changed?" He was shaking now, not visibly, but inside, every part of him trembled. He clenched his fists at his sides, his nails digging into his palms. "Malaika," he whispered, his voice barely holding together. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand," she cried. "Talk to me, Tendai. Tell me what's going on." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and it shattered him. Her eyes were full of tears. But behind the sorrow was love, real love, unshaken, unyielding, and he didn't feel worthy of it. "Because I don't even know who I am anymore," he said, "and until I do, I don't know how to love you the way you deserve." Malaika's lip trembled. She tried to step closer, but he stepped back. "I'm not leaving because I don't love you," he said. "I'm leaving because I do, and that's the part that hurts the most." She stood there, stunned, heartbreaking in silence. "Tendai." But he'd already opened the door. The light from the hallway poured in. He didn't say goodbye. He just left her standing in that room, holding a love that felt like it was slipping through her fingers. And she cried, not just for the baby, but for the man she loved, the man who no longer knew how to love. Zoro found Sia already in his quarters. He knocked once, more out of respect than necessity, and stepped inside. Sia was sitting on the edge of his bed, his shoulders slumped, his hands stained from where they had gripped the memory too tightly. He didn't look up. Zoro closed the door behind him, the air between them heavy, thick with unspoken truth. "What is this I hear?" Zoro said quietly, his voice not raised, but sharp enough to cut through the silence. Sia finally looked at him. His eyes were bloodshot, rimmed with sorrow. He didn't need to ask what Zoro had heard. Tendai had spoken. Of course he had. There was no use pretending. His voice came out dry and broken. "It all happened so fast, father." He stood slowly, like the words themselves weighed him down. One moment, Kudu was charging toward Palesa. His sword was drawn. His face was full of rage. And the next... His voice cracked. He turned away. The next moment he was on the ground and I had blood all over my hands. Zoro's jaw clenched, but he didn't speak. "I can't breathe at night," Sia said, voice rising. "I see his face every time I close my eyes. The goddess knows I've thought of ending my own life behind this. More than once." Zoro flinched. "I don't know how I'll face the council, how I'll stand before the Brotherhood and tell them their brother is gone and because of me." Tears slipped down his face, hot, desperate, silent. "I've kept this lie for too long. And every day it festers. Every day I lose a piece of myself. Zoro looked at him. This was his son. And here he was, broken. He had come here to shout, to rage, to demand an answer. But now, looking at Sia, the pain in his eyes, the weight on his back, he couldn't bring himself to speak the words that had burned in his throat. Instead, he stepped closer, gently. "So? You saw her then?" Zoro said, his voice softer now. Sia's breath hitched. He had expected Zoro to shout, to give him a lecture. He nodded slowly. "Yes, I saw her." Zoro's lips twitched into something between a smile and a grimace. "And?" Sia let out a breath, a fragile, tired sound. "We had a moment," he said, "but it ended in tragedy." There was a long silence. Zoro's mind turned back to the day he had encouraged his son to go, to protect Palesa. It had all seemed noble then. He was to blame too for this. He placed a firm hand on Sia's shoulder. His voice was steadier than he felt. "We'll make a plan, my son. Somehow." Sia looked up, eyes hollow. "You think this can be fixed?" Zoro didn't answer right away. He gave Sia's shoulder a gentle squeeze. "I don't know, but I know you're still breathing. And while you are, we move, we fight, we carry what we must." He turned to go. At the door, he looked back. "Pick yourself up. Be confident. I'll think of something." Sia nodded slowly, but the tears still fell. Because deep down, he wasn't sure there was a way out of this. Back at Snake Island. The fires burned high across Snake Island that night, dancing shadows leaping onto the stone walls like spirits celebrating victory. Drums echoed through the trees, laughter and song carried by the wind. Snake people twirled and embraced. Food passed from hand to hand, and children ran barefoot through the dust with wide, shining eyes. Joy had returned to a land that had known too much grief. And at the center of it all stood Palesa, the woman who had done the impossible. Asa watched her from across the firelight, smiling with the others, her arms occasionally lifted in embrace, her head bowed when elders blessed her. But Asa could see it, the distance in her eyes, the weight she carried like a stone buried beneath her skin. Later, when the fires had dimmed and the singing softened into murmurs, Asa found Palesa sitting alone on the cliffs above the island. Her cloak wrapped tightly around her shoulders, her face turned to the stars. The celebration flickered far below like a dream. "You should be down there," Asa said gently, taking a seat beside her. "This is your moment." Palesa didn't turn. Her voice was quiet. "They don't know what it cost." Asa was silent for a while. She looked up at the stars, too, letting the cool breeze run through her fingers. "You saved them, Palesa. You brought them back." "I lost him," Palesa whispered. Asa turned, startled. "My son," she said, her voice trembling now. "He looked at me like I was a monster, like I was something to fear. I thought when he saw me, there would be joy, recognition. I thought maybe he'd run to me, but his eyes..." She swallowed hard, her throat tight. "He looked through me, like I was the thing that ruined everything." Asa reached out, resting a hand over Palesa's. She didn't speak. "And Sia," Palesa continued, voice breaking. "He was the one who saved us, protected us, fought for us. He killed one of his own. For me, for us. I didn't ask him to, but he did." She finally looked at Asa. "Do you understand what that means? What it cost him?" Asa nodded slowly. "We were lucky this time, Asa," Palesa said, her eyes dark with pain. "But I walked them straight into danger. I gambled with their lives. If Sia hadn't been watching, we'd all be dead. This is not a path we can keep walking, Asa. We can't afford another mission like this. It's too dangerous. One wrong move, and we lose everything." "You don't know that, Palesa. Look what we gained," Asa said softly. "Look at them, Palesa. Our people are dancing, singing. The children, some of them are laughing for the first time. You've given them hope." "I've given them a lie," Palesa snapped, then instantly softened. "I'm sorry, my queen. I'm tired. I don't know if I can carry this again. I'm not a hero. I'm not even sure I'm a good mother anymore." Asa looked down at her hands. The firelight from below caught the edge of her face, and in that light her strength flickered with uncertainty. "I have to think like a leader," she said slowly. "And a leader sees the bigger picture. What you did, Palesa, it worked. It has to be done again. Not because I want to risk more lives, but because we have to rebuild. We have to grow. Our people need to feel strong again." "But at what cost?" Asa hesitated, then added, "There's already a group preparing to go back out." Palesa's breath caught. "What?" "The people are volunteering," Asa said quickly. "They believe it can be done again. They want to follow your example." Palesa's heart sank. "Who are these people?" Asa hesitated. "Your son." He was the first to step forward. The world tilted for a moment. The sea below roared in her ears. "No," Palesa breathed. "No, he can't. He wants to. He wants to walk the path you walked." Tears fell silently down Palesa's cheeks, too stunned to speak. They sat in silence for a while, the waves crashing far below, the echoes of celebration distant and fading. Two women, both torn between duty and heartbreak, caught in the space between what was and what must be. Tomorrow would come, with new choices, new risks, and more lives in their hands. But for now, they sat under the stars, both knowing that leadership was not glory. It was sacrifice. And sometimes, the deepest wounds were the ones no one ever saw. The silence followed them like a ghost. Kwame, Nandi, and Diallo walked slowly back into the Snake People's village, the weight of what had just happened clinging to their skin like mist. The forest behind them had returned to stillness, but their minds were still echoing with divine voices, with ancestral memory, with power. None of them spoke. They didn't have to. When they stepped through the village threshold, they were met by eyes, dozens of them. The Snake People had gathered, waiting. They had felt the tremors. They had heard the unearthly screech. Some had readied their weapons. Others had simply wept and prayed. Amina stood at the front of the crowd, her posture regal, but her jaw tight with worry. She had prepared for war. She stepped forward, locking eyes with Kwame. "What happened?" she asked, her voice sharp, unblinking. "What was coming toward us?" Kwame blinked, as if just now waking from a long nightmare. He hadn't realized he was surrounded. The pressure of their eyes, the Queen's voice, it all came down at once. He needed to lie. "It was an earthquake," he said too quickly. The crowd stirred. Amina's brows knit. "An earthquake that hisses?" she asked coldly. Kwame swallowed. "Yes. There was a crack in the earth, and there were gases released from underground. The sound you heard, it was that. And the clouds, the weather, it was tied to the Guardian. She was performing a ritual." Silence. He could feel Diallo and Nandi stiffen beside him. "The Guardian sends her apologies for the disruption," Kwame finished. "She said it won't happen again." Amina looked at him for a long, long time. Her gaze then flicked to Nandi. "Why were you in the forest?" The tension tightened like a noose. "It's over," Kwame said gently. "You are safe, my queen. We all are." Amina held his gaze a moment longer. Then she nodded. That was all she needed. She turned, disappearing into the inner chambers. Later that day, Nandi and Diallo were brought before the queen. "You have been generous, queen of the Snake People," Diallo said, bowing. "We came here with a message and found a people, a culture and kindness. We thank you, but we must return. Our people await us. We have stayed too long." Amina smiled. "It was a pleasure having you here, Diallo. And Nandi." She looked at her for a long moment. "I wish health upon your children, the ones you carry." Nandi gasped. She hadn't told anyone. "Thank you, my queen," she whispered. Amina raised a hand. A servant appeared, carrying a carved chest. "A gift. You must not leave empty-handed. Take this to your people." "Thank you, Queen of the Snake People, for your hospitality and generosity." They bowed and left. Diallo held the chest. It was heavier than it looked. "Where is Samuel?" Diallo asked. "Hopefully ready," Nandi muttered. Samuel was not ready. He was groaning under a blanket, reeling from a hangover, eyes puffy and confused. "Their beer is made of what?" "Fire," he mumbled, trying to sit up. "We're leaving," Diallo said. "Pack up what you have and let's go." "Not much to pack," Samuel said, pulling on his boots. "Did I miss something?" Diallo didn't answer. He had something he needed to do first. He found Kwame where he expected him, chopping wood, sweat across his brow, the thud of the axe breaking the silence of the clearing. "Is this how you fight your thoughts?" Diallo asked gently. Kwame didn't look up. "It helps." In truth, he was hiding from Diallo, from the moment he knew was coming, from the grief of goodbye. Diallo took a slow breath, then stepped closer. "I'm glad I found you." Kwame paused. "We've said almost nothing about what happened," Diallo continued, "about what we are, about what that moment in the forest meant." He stepped even closer, his voice low. "I wish I had met you in different circumstances, son, but I am grateful that I met you at all. And if you are willing, I'd like to try. I don't know how. I don't even know where to start, but I'd like to try. To be your father, in whatever way you'll allow me." Kwame looked up then. It was more than Kwame expected. Tears welled in his son's eyes. "You didn't have to say that," Kwame said quietly. "But I'm glad you did." He stepped forward, his voice cracked. "I'm willing, and don't worry. I won't tell anyone. Our secret is safe. It's not mine to reveal. The ancestors, they showed me that." Diallo exhaled sharply, a breath he hadn't known he was holding. He stepped in and wrapped his arms around his son. They held each other, not as warriors, not as hunter and snake, but as blood. And for a long time, neither moved. "I hope I see you again soon," Diallo said, pulling away, eyes glistening. Kwame nodded. "You will, father." Diallo smiled. "Father." He walked away slowly, his shoulders trembling, and the tears came freely now. He didn't wipe them away. "Father," Diallo repeated the word softly. It was the best word he had heard all day. And that, my dear tribe, brings us to the end of another moving chapter in Snake People vs. Hunters series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Cabo the Great leads the sacred funeral rite for the fallen, reciting a divine prayer that will shape hunter burials for generations. At his side, Naomi stands firm, his anchor in the storm. Far away in time, Malaika reunites with her sister and confirms her pregnancy, but Tendai's reaction leaves her wounded. His sudden departure raises a question: could he be heading to Snake Island? At Snake Island, Palesa is celebrated by her people for a victorious return, but in truth, it was Sia's sacrifice that saved them. She warns Asa against more missions, but she is determined. Palesa's son is now at the heart of it all. Finally, Kwame, Diallo, and Nandi return from the forest with secrets. Kwame hides the truth from Queen Amina. But even in silence, there is a moment of truth. A father and son embrace, fully seeing one another. That is love. Until next time, tribe, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. A special shout-out goes to those who went the extra mile with their super thanks. Angel, thank you for the incredibly generous $15 super thanks. You said, "A little of what I got for my birthday. I wish it were more, but my son is a cheapskate." You made me laugh out loud. Happiest belated birthday to you, and thank you for making me part of your celebration. Thank your son for us. He is part of the tribe by our association with you. From the savannah to your screen, we celebrate you. Here's to many more beautiful chapters in your life. Lifting your veil, love. Thank you so much for your $5 super thanks. Your comment left me speechless and truly moved. To know that you're facing chemotherapy and still find a slice of happiness and laughter in these stories is incredibly humbling. I can't express how honored I am to have you here as part of this tribe. Thank you for your strength, your presence, and for sharing something so personal. I'm deeply grateful. Wishing you healing, peace, and joy through every moment. You are seen, you are valued, you are loved. R. Ricky Brown, Section 74. Thank you so much for your $2 super thanks. Your comment was thoughtful and extensive, diving into each and every plot point with such care and insight. I truly appreciate the time and effort you put into your responses. I genuinely enjoy reading them and replying to them. Thank you once again. May the gods you hold dear bless you abundantly. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. A warm and heartfelt thank you to all the amazing tribe members who have chosen to join and support this incredible journey. Your belief in this channel means the world to me, and I'm so glad to have you along for the ride. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.